Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chloe and today I'm going to be talking about Notting Hill Carnival. There has been a lot of discussion and I'm really going to be breaking down the history of Carnival because I feel like in people's perspectives, especially racists, saying that Carnival should be closed because of X, Y, and Z, there is a long history of suppression of our celebrations, which are rooted in resistance against colonialism. It's about coming together, it's about community, and it's about challenging racism, which they don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to acknowledge their privileges. And when I say that, it's especially coming from the media trying to, do divide and rule, even within the working class, etc., etc. Because the comments that people have been making really highlight a lot of ignorance, even from, people within the Black community and people who are Black Caribbean. So this is just to clarify and just to illustrate why Carnival should continue. So what is Carnival? So I'm going to explore this in relation to the Caribbean context because we know that there are different types of Carnival globally. And the history of Carnival, Caribbean Carnival, can be directly correlated to the presence of the European settler colonial regime and the creativity, the tradition, the African traditions of Black people kidnapped and taken to the Caribbean and indigenous cultures. So let's clarify, we're not giving credit to the European settlers, but there is that context in terms of mass and masquerade, and the fact that masquerade was mocking the way that French settlers would dress in their festivals, in their carnival. And this was from Charleston Carifest Caribbean Carnival, their website. And they say that the origins of the term carnival itself is Catholic. Carnevale, farewell to flesh, is a feast celebrated on the Sunday, Monday and Tuesday before Ash Wednesday and marks the beginning of Lent and fasting. And the origin of Carnival can be traced back to the late 18th century, which is when it first emerged in the island of Trinidad and Tobago. It began as a ritual known as Cannes Brûlée, which means sugarcane burning in French. Enslaved Africans deliberately set fire to sugarcane that was meant for sale. During Cannes Brûlée, instruments resembling drums and sticks were used to create music that was connected to the African roots of the enslaved people. And in 1881, the British colonial authorities attempted to ban the use of sticks and drums, considering them too violent. And this sparked a protest by Afro-Caribbean people, which was then known as the Carnival riots. Like the way that our resistance is criminalized, our celebration is criminalized, our everything, every movement is criminalized, right? Trinidadian human rights activist Claudia Jones is one of the founders of Carnival, alongside Duke Vin, Leslie Palmer, alongside Rahun Laslet. Kelso Cochrane was an Antiguan man who was living in Notting Hill. He was murdered by a group of white men, May 17th, 1959. Till this day, those that murdered him were never caught. This was the context of why Carnival, Notting Hill Carnival, was created. That's what it was about for Claudia Jones especially, where, this racial hate, xenophobia was so rife. And till this day, there's still that same racist discourse that there has been towards Notting Hill Carnival since its origins. And ultimately, this is why Carnival must exist, because we have to resist racism as a community. Things are pretty bad here in the UK, okay? There is a need for resistance. There is a need for these spaces to persist. And there is a fear. They will always feel threatened. They will always feel fearful because they know what they are doing. They know how unfair things are. They know how unjust things are. Now, to move on to a slightly lighter topic, there's been a lot of debate also around music, evolution, and gatekeeping. And I'm of the opinion that I do think the core tenets, so the core aspects of Carnival should be maintained, in terms of the structure of Carnival. From looking at the history personally, I feel like soca and calypso should really be a key part of Notting Hill Carnival. Like, that is a key part of Caribbean Carnival as we know it, right? So that should be maintained. There should be a respect that is paid. At the very least, it should be music that is rooted in resistance. Reggae is one of those genres, is it not? You also have with dancehall, I feel like, it being very working class in its origins, that does the same, like all of those music genres, that's basically what it is. And then also historically, you had people like Little Kim coming, hip hop, once again, rebellion, resistance. So I think that it's really about getting the balance right. I'll be interested to see what other Caribbean folk feel. And this is what the author that I mentioned before, Michael LaRose, said. He said the 4 elements of Carnival are song, music, costume, and dance, which translate as calypso, soca, steel band, mass, and wine in a Caribbean Carnival. You then also have sound system, which is a part of Jamaican popular culture. All islands should be represented in the music. I want to hear what my Trinidadians have got to say on this topic also, because you founded it. So moving on. So another thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of Carnival was over-policing does not address youth violence. We've been trying to tell you, there's loads of studies on this, but, they're not listening. Stop and search dehumanizes. It does not prevent crime taking place. Knife crimes and gangs are a reflection of poverty, first and foremost. In the West Midlands, just to really speak into the mic, West Midlands is currently the crime knife capital of Britain, where the highest level of crimes per 1,000 population was reported. And white people are the majority in those areas. There was like 1 million people in attendance. I think it's like 2 point something million. So statistically, I'm not great at maths, but it's quite clear that represents, or, this way that they're trying to make it seem as if it was some hotbed of deviance and criminality is utter rubbish. Meanwhile, the hooliganism at football, that, they're just seen as lads. They're just seen as lads' behaviour. So another thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of Carnival was the sexual harassment. And this is something that, again, is not unique to Carnival in terms of, the behaviour. People should be able to have fun without worrying about someone grabbing them, trying to dance with them without their consent. And I think these are topics that must be talked about, right? And I shouldn't have to be pushing someone off of me when I've come to enjoy Carnival with my friends. Full stop. Or people talked about witnessing older men trying to talk to very young girls. This behaviour is unacceptable and it should not be tolerated at any space, in any way in our society, let alone at an event like Carnival. If you've made it throughout the whole video, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to listen. But please definitely let me know what you think below. I really want to hear other people's opinions on this topic. And yeah, please check out my next video. But I must say, I'm going to be taking a break from YouTube for a bit because it's quite demanding.